God is the manufacturer of humanity, and He's the one that tells us how we function at peak capacity. So here's what He says concerning mankind who changed the truth of God into a lie. There is truth, and sometimes my truth is a lie. Sometimes your truth is a lie. God's truth is always truth. Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshiped and served the creature. So he speaks of people in that day who worshiped and served themselves more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. So they began to love themselves. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. The women did what we call lesbian practices, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman. There's a natural use that God created, designed, good, fun. He appreciates it. He conceived of it. It's great. But that's the natural use, man and woman. But they left the natural use, burned in their lust, the men did, one toward another, that men lusted after men. Men with men working that which is unseemly. It was so bad you didn't want to see it, especially in some kind of movie or something. And receiving in themselves, this is the consequence of that homosexual action. They received in themselves, not externally, not something God did to them, but they received inside their own person that recompense. That is a return, a payback, that recompense of their error. It was an error to engage in homosexuality. God gave them over to a reprobate mind. Now, a reprobate mind is a mind that is no longer responsive, no longer sensitive, can no longer discern the difference between real natural love and perverted love, between natural God-given pleasure and perverted pleasure. And we get letters from people, many, many letters. And 20 years ago, wives were complaining about their husbands watching television, reading the newspaper, tinkering around in their shop, spending too much time with the guys out bowling or playing golf or something. And then about 10 years ago, women started complaining about their husbands doing pornography. One woman wrote and told how she slipped around and looked through his study window and saw he had pornography on the screen. So she picked up a brick from the flower bed and threw it through the window. And that's before she destroyed the TV. And so that was the kind of complaints we were getting 10 years ago. Let me tell you something. The complaints we're getting now from women is that they suspect their husbands of molesting their daughters and even their sons. We're hearing of bestiality. We're hearing of all kinds of perversions, and many women are separating from their husbands because their husbands have become sodomite deviants, and they're afraid for themselves and their children. And I'm not just talking about people out there. Even in our community, in our church, we've seen people fall into the pits of sin. So I'm just warning you, we live in a day and age when the government, even some of the churches, are trying to force us to condone pornography and homosexuality and treat it as normal. And it is not normal. It's an abnormal perversion. And it's not acceptable. Christians don't engage in those things. So I just want to warn you, watch out for your children. Don't let them get their cell phones or computers in their bedrooms and do whatever they want to do with them. You say, don't you trust your kids? I never trusted mine. And I wouldn't trust any kid, especially a boy, with the ability to go online and access pornography. You don't know boys. You're very foolish if you do trust them. So I don't like talking about these things. I like gardening much better than going fishing with my grandkids. But things are happening out there in the real world that at 75 years old, I've got to say something about it before I leave this world, because the world is becoming a very dark place and it won't return. It's a permanent breakdown of humanity. It would take the Sodom couldn't return. God wiped it off the face of the earth. God's going to wipe life off the face of this planet and take those that are his out. That's where we're headed. All right, I'll stop there, and sorry for being so dark about this, but it's a dark subject. All right, next time.